Good morning, and thank you for joining us this beautiful Saturday morning. I am Alero Edu, welcoming you to Sunrise.
I am Akinde. Good morning and welcome. Hope you had a good enough weekend. If you happen to have found yourself, if you are not in the southwest part of Nigeria, you may not know, so congratulations to you. But if you found yourself anywhere near the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, especially the Kara end, towards the Kara end.
Inward Lagos?
Inward Lagos.
Okay.
My sincere sympathies for what you had to go through. Well, it's better now, right? So, as the federal government, Federal Ministry of Works has said, we're going to be the eventual beneficiaries, so no pain, no gain.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. All right, so we have to be patient until they finish, but from what I saw yesterday, I think they are threatening to actually rush the job so that the pain of the people is reduced.
No, I don't think it's going to be a rush job per se, just to...
Not rushed in that sense. They're going to speed things up.
Yeah, because hitherto, they didn't work at night. And I think, you know, part of what the Federal Ministry of Works is thinking about, I think the Federal Controller of Works mentioned that they want to see the possibility of including working in the middle of the night.
Okay.
So maybe that will also help. There are implications to that, security, infrastructure, and all those things, so yeah.
Okay, then. Well, I saw something in the course of the week about the trial of parents and guardians of out-of-school children, which was about to begin.
Well, I think that was about a week before that announcement was made. It was Edo State government, right?
Yes, yes.
So it is indeed tiring and worrisome. For the state government, the state governor himself, to have made that statement, they must have come across some information of parents who don't want to put their students in school or stuff like that. But so the question remains, is it free education in Edo State? Is it the same in every part of the country? Well, he was clear about the age range. Anyone below the age of 18 should be in school.
In school,
ideally so. But then scaling that up to how many millions, about 10 million or thereabouts, according to UNICEF, that are out of school, you know. It is indeed worrisome. But what we are waiting for to see is how that trial will happen, actually.
And then, okay, so they go through school and they go into tertiary institutions, and then ASU is on strike for 6 to 8 months, for a whole session almost.
Go to school first.
Okay.
Yes, go to school first.
Okay, I rest my case. just go to school, sir. Just go to school. Okay. Now, have you noticed how building materials are dumped on roadsides, blocking sometimes the walkway for pedestrians and blocking part of the road? And the local government doesn't seem to be paying any attention. Nobody seems to be complaining about it. So it has become like normal for you to just throw your building materials, not on your site, but on the road.
Just to be clear, these building materials are sand,
gravel,
stuff like that.
Yes. Iron rods.
You're very correct to mention the role of local governments there. Very, very, spot on. The question you then want to ask is, and we've talked about this almost like people are wondering, do you guys have an agenda? Yes, we want good governance. That's our agenda.
That's all we want.
That's our agenda. We want good governance.
I mean, is that too much to ask for?
See, ideally, I mean, there are some things that are no-brainers. But then there are some people that just feel that, look, they are, what's the word now, above the law. How does it even make sense to pull your building materials on the road as an individual?
Yes.
It doesn't make any sense.
Smacks of a lack of consideration for others.
For anyone else.
Yeah.
Now, we have government in place. Hey, Mamanduka doesn't care who this government is. Federal, state, local government. That's all. So if you pour these things on the road, there are wide implications. What if your sand washes in the drainage?
Which it does.
And what happens to the drainage? Flooding.
And when you decide to clean the drainage, you pack it and put it back on the road.
And the same thing is going to be washed back. I don't know.
Oh,
so
God.
there is a cycle of activities that are supposed to happen, especially at the local government level. So please give us local government autonomy, financial and administrative. Let them be able to do what the Constitution asks them to do. It's just as simple, right?
Okay. And Nigeria to replace Russia as major gas supplier to Europe. That, for me, was welcome news. But why are you now behaving like a professor? It is welcome news, but you know the way things are in Nigeria. If that happens to us, it will be a great foreign exchange earner. But this is the same country where the accountant general is caught with his hands in the till.
I don't even, you see, the issue that you're even raising, I don't even want to be a part of it because we hear these things all the time. Nigeria Air was supposed to start. Dangote Cement, the Dangote refinery was supposed to start. I don't want promises. No more.
Do,
please.
don't talk. Do.
You didn't see that clip of this guy who he was in a bath, you know, a movie clip, was in a bath, and this guy, a gunman, went into his room, went into the bathroom and was pointing the gun at him, threatening him. And the guy had a gun in the bath. He just shot the guy. You want to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
Isn't that what they say about this movie? The good, the bad, and the ugly?
Yeah. So
just do the do.
I don't.
Enough of the talking.
We have deposits. I don't know. We have deposits of these things. I don't even know how it's a big deal for us to have to be talking about it. We want to beat, you know, Russia in terms of gas supply to the world. Wonderful. Please, do we have gas at home?
We have enough. We've been told we have enough gas because we're still flaring gas.
You've been told, yes.
We're still flaring gas.
We're flaring gas. We're supposed to transit to auto gas for automobiles and stop using petrol, be using gas-powered vehicles and all those things. Look, let's even see. I thought they say charity begins at home, or is it Alero that begins at home?
Charity.
Oh, charity. Okay, so.
Charity. But quickly, before we go to the menu, shout out to Banke Iromini.
Okay.
I mean, I went to a bank yesterday and there were so many people. I just walked into the accountant's office and I said, I'm a senior. I cannot stand in that queue. And can you believe? Oh, please sit down, please sit down. What do you want done? I want the, oh, she got me the form, brought it to her office, and I filled the form, and she did my business for me.
Wow.
And I felt, pinch me, somebody, I'm not in Nigeria. Pinch me, pinch me. I need to wake up from this dream. It's too good to be true.
No, it's not a dream. You see, it leads me to, well, so first of all, shout out to
Banke Iromini.
Banke Iromini, you're a banker. And those are the kinds of people that deserve the MBE, right?
Benny. So there are little pockets of Nigerians who are doing good things. And that should gladden our hearts. Not everyone is like that, as they say. You know, disrespectful, not doing what they're supposed to do, thinking they're above the law, they're above everybody else. But there's some little pockets, and I think these people should be called out, if I can use that expression.
I agree with you 101. It only speaks to one thing. If Nigeria is going to be the country we want it to be, it's the individual. Please, you see, often I say, look, let's decrypt government. When you say government is not
Who is government? Government is us.
No. I mean, that's even kind of wide. Let's decrypt it. Government is an officer in an office that is supposed to move one paper from one table to the other.
Yeah.
So when that does not happen, we say it is government. It is not. In my opinion,
that person.
It is that person. In my opinion, someone was responsible for the ASU strike. One individual, not government in that sense. It only got worse over the years. I mean, we've been talking about this brain drain syndrome for how many years now?
For yonks.
I remember we've been talking about, I've been hearing about the brain drain syndrome since Babangida days. Now, there was a time in this country for 18 straight months, ASU was on strike.
Yeah.
Now, who did what about that one? No one has been held accountable. In 2001, there was an agreement, right? Now, that agreement in 2001 was reviewed in 2009. And that agreement was signed.
And it's still in the cooler.
And it is still the subject of strikes upon strikes upon strikes.
Today.
You know that between 1999 and 2013, ASU went on strike about 12 times. Just in this same ASU. And now we're talking about the common trend now. You know, brain drain has evolved to Japa. Now, the people who want to get out of Nigeria, they want to get out of Nigeria because things aren't going the way they want it to go. But the likes of Banker Iromini they believe that there is one little thing or the other that they can do to make this country better. Each of the issues that we have raised this morning, the man pouring, you know, sand and gravel
on the side of the road.
And all those things, they are subjects of one individual or the other. Can we be more interested in the larger picture? Can we be more interested individually in how Nigeria can be better by playing a little role? I realized, Alero, that your body has 75 trillion cells. Guess what? Anything happens to one of those cells,
your body is not going to feel the same.
Your body starts to feel it. It's the same thing with the nation.
Yeah.
We're 200 and what million now? One of us is capable of starting a fire in this country that will become a... And that's what corruption, that's what has become corruption. So imagine a banker says to you, Adam, if you want me to give you special treatment, bring something.
Oh, dear.
And what will you do? I mean, but it does happen.
And it wasn't special treatment.
Just exactly what she was supposed to do.
It wasn't special treatment. I am a senior. It wasn't a lie. Am I supposed to stand for 3 hours in the queue in the bank?
Is it every senior that gets that?
No.
Exactly the point that I'm making. Wait, I never finished.
Sorry.
Now, you know we're talking about this same whole... That's a private sector person, right? But here is the thing. I heard something shocking in the course of the week, and I confirmed it from someone, and hey, that's commonplace. One Nigerian wants to import stuff into this country. And he gets to, I think there's a port or some customs or whatever, one of these agencies is supposed to clear it for X amount of naira. So you bought something, for instance, for say 6 million naira, and you're expected to clear it. Guess how much you're supposed to clear with, according to the federal government? How much you're supposed to pay into the coffers of government? 200,000 naira. Guess how much you have to pay? 6 million naira.
Oops. The same amount as what I'm bringing in.
So plus or minus. In fact, there are times that you have to pay like twice or thrice the cost of what you brought into the country.
Where I'm greasing palms, right?
No, you're not greasing palms. They give you have to pay.
I'm getting receipts for all those payments.
You will get receipts. But guess what? That money doesn't get into the coffers of government. And someone is going to... And we're saying government Nigeria is not getting better? So, you know, it's a whole...
At the end of the day, it is each person playing their part.
If we want a better Nigeria, what are you doing about it today?
Do the right thing.
So when we say leaders, you know, our politicians, our leaders and all those things, what are you doing? Driving against traffic, is that government?
No.
Pouring sand in the middle of the road to build your house, is that government? I rest my case.
We'll start today's program by looking at the economic recovery options.
Well, that's one of those things. Oh, yes, we'll also be talking about curbing the Jaguar Syndrome. Find out what that means in the course of time.
And then remember that thing we couldn't talk about last week because of happenings in around the world? We're going to be looking at food health.
Now that means, if food health means you won't buy medications, I don't know. Listen until then.
No, reduce.
Oh, reduce.
Reduce,
okay.
yes. Make your food your medicine.
Socrates, whatever. Anyway. The artist of the week is the last segment of the program today.
Okay, so just relax, get whatever you need to get on time so that you can, whether it is your
cocoa
or your cocoa
or your
cocoa. So get whichever you prefer and just relax and join us through today's program. See you shortly.
Thank you for staying with us. Economic recovery options. Of course, we've been talking about this for how long now? I mean, with the way the economy is, everyone is concerned. Every single person is concerned. Now, Nigeria's National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 was launched in December last year. Now, the plan succeeds the Vision 2020 introduced in 2009 and the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP, which was introduced in 2017, both of which expired in 2020. Now, the NDP, the National Development Plan, is also a bridge for the country's long-term plan currently being developed, that is Nigeria Agenda 2050. The vision is to make Nigeria a country that has unlocked its potential in all sectors of the economy for a sustainable, holistic, and inclusive national development.
The Igbo man would say, Beke, meaning Ingidi Igbo, English.
Anyway.
We had a 2020 vision. What happened to that?
Well, we hear this, that you know what someone will do by what the person has done before. I'd been hearing of housing for all by the year 2020 since, I think, the 80s.
Mercedes for all by the year 2000. That's 22 years ago.
Yes, but by the year 2000, yes.
Yes.
Housing for all by the year to water for all, this for all. Anyway, let's unpack some of these issues with Dr. Gbenga Adeoye, who is a chartered accountant. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
As well as Mr. Tunji Andrews, who is CEO, Our Bar. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, you need to, because our bar doesn't, it doesn't look like the way it's spelled AWABAH.
Yes, it's actually Pidgin English. It's our money,
Bar.
Bar. Yeah, so it's Pidgin English. It's a micro.
And by the way, bar is not.
It's not yet
ancient.
Yeah,
Nigeria is
recent. So it's a micro pensions. Our primary products is micro pensions. That's pensions for informal sector workers, and in trying to coin
those
a name,
that are not
9 to 5. Yes,
those that are not captured under the PENCOM.
Yeah, but so it's micro pensions is still under PENCOM. It's an initiative of PENCOM. But it targets people that do not work in a regular 9 to 5.
You have to come pay for this explanation. Just needed to.
Thank you.
Because, I mean, people will be wondering, our bar.
Yeah.
That's
the whole idea of the name. To be able to get people asking more questions.
It sounds more like that bar. Anyway, well, let's begin with you, Dr. Adeoye. So this National Development Plan thing,
This National Development Plan thing. Yes.
That reference.
Go ahead.
Because my query is because I've been hearing it for a long time. In fact, I think my research some 1-2 years back indicates that we've been having national development plan since like 1948.
Correct.
And so they said some are development rolling plans or whatever it is. First of all, give us an understanding about these successive development plans and how really developmental or functional they have been in our history.
Are we achieving?
Well, let me say that a bad plan is better than not having a plan. At least you have something in mind that you want to do. But with Nigeria, we've had some good plans, but implementation have always been a problem. And in the last 2 weeks, we've had discussions. And so I have an illustration here.
Okay.
I was praying for Nigeria.
You need to put it on the
I was praying for the country. And then I was asking God about Nigeria because so many people that I know, they had left the country. Young people every day. In my office, 3 people had left the country for Canada. And every time I write reference letters for people leaving the country. And so God gave me a revelation about our problem in Nigeria, and He reminded me of a yam farm in the village, and then told me about the system. So you have a yam that you have planted, but you are supposed to have a particular stick that is going to guide the growth of that yam. And that stick is a symbol of the system. If that stick is not there, that growth is going to be stunted. Not only that, there is going to be a clash between other plants, between other yams that you have planted. And so we've had plans over the years. You remember in the 80s, structural adjustment programs. We've had all sorts of Millennium Development Goals.
Second tier
The
foreign exchange
ERGP, Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, is a fantastic plan which was introduced when Kemi Adeosun was Minister of Finance. Fantastic program. I had opportunity of looking into this before it became implemented. Now, or announced to the public. But we don't have a system. That's our major problem. The system upon which you are going to implement those plans. And I'll give you various examples. University system, we are in crisis. We'll touch on the economy at the university level. In 2017, you were talking about when the ERGP was introduced, the business environment, the Federal Government Business Environment Council, they issued a memo to Nigerian Custom on the 18th of July, 2017, telling customs not to have a roadblock 40 kilometers after the border. And then the customs sent circulars round their various offices that this must be implemented before Friday, 11th August 2017. Till today, as we speak, that has not been done.
I'd like you to take a pause on that. You've established something that we can't build something on nothing.
Oh, yes.
Essentially saying without a system to carry the plan, it's not going anywhere. But we've been having these plans all the same, Mr. Andrews. And so what's the point, if you agree with Dr. Adewi?
So to a large extent, the issue I see is not much of not having a plan. It's that we're all working in silos. So for instance, the ERGP, as flawed as it might have been even before passing, was a plan that required everybody to work in unison. every arm of government, every arm of the country to work in unison. What we then saw was that at a certain point, individual government agencies will start to work on their own, not necessarily against the ERGP, but in a way that would undermine the ERGP. Basically, and in all fairness, a lot of them felt they were doing it in the best interest of the country. But a lot of the time, when we all agree to walk in this particular direction, the person on this side may be slipping off the edge, and because he's slipping off the edge, wants to quickly, maybe use things to hook themselves down. What that does is that it undermines the entire the entire ranks of how we are moving forward. So what's made the ERGP not work? First of all, the way it was put together. It wasn't put together with the full input of the entire machinery that was supposed to make it work. Then why did it fail? Because when it was implemented, not everybody agreed with it. So not everybody worked in the same way it was supposed to work. And you can just start from the way the CBN governor has, in all wisdom, worked towards, imploring monetary policy on the economy. I always refer to it as fixing a problem that did not exist, and then fixing the fix that created the problem that did not exist to begin with. I'm sure I confused you. Yes, yeah, I'm as confused as you too.
But Mr. Andrews, when you say that we're not working together, all of this is a plan by government.
Yes.
And all agencies of government should actually be on board, all working in one direction.
Should,
yes. But what you're saying now brings to mind the complaint of security agencies regarding Boko Haram, that for some of them, it is a competition between the agencies and not a working together towards a common goal. Is that what we're seeing here?
Absolutely.
And if it is, why is this what is going on?
So,
when we're all working to make Nigeria a better place. So that is a singular goal.
I remember the ERGP. Unfortunately, we have to keep going back to the ERGP. I remember that the target for the ERGP, GDP target was 7%. We've never done 7% in the last 20 years. We've not done 7% GDP growth in the last 7 years. My first question to the economic eggheads, who are very respected economists across the country, was how are we expected to do 7% growth from a recession? Remember, when a recession at the time, how we're supposed to make 7% GDP growth in 2 years? And the response I got was, we've done it before. I said, no, we've not done it before. We've done 6.9. If you are an economist, you understand there's a difference between 6.9 and 7. And plus, the 6.9 came from years of over $100 per barrel of crude oil. So we had accumulated years of a largesse. So it was natural that would have grown to 6.9%. And nobody had a clear reasoning to how we will get to 7%. So in that room, it was already clear that the goal could not be achieved because none of us knew how to do it.
Okay. Both of you agree on the fact that we have faulty systems. That's what it's sounding like now. But the ERGP has since evolved into the National Development Plan, which has, from what I can see before me, about 2 years or thereabout, because it's 2021 to 2025. So maybe about less than 2 years, if you ask me. Because I'm not sure what month of 2025 this is supposed to expire. So if we don't have a system, as you say, and the clusters are not working together, as you say, Mr. Andrews, Dr. Adeye, what is the fate, in your opinion, of this National Development Plan?
we're still not going to achieve our target. Like I said to you, that the yam farm, as an example, when there is no system that controls each yam as they grow, you're going to see intersection, and then there's going to be clashes. And remember that most of the system we're talking about, they are interwoven, they are complementary. The education system, it affects the economy. The security system, it affects the economy. The road infrastructure. Unfortunately for me, today, I had to come from Abeokuta to your station. And I woke up 3 a.m. My driver got to my house at 4:45 a.m. just to beat this traffic on the Long Bridge. I bet you Julius Berger dare not do this in Germany. They can't even do it in other countries. Now, so we need to come back to the issue of the system. How can we achieve this? Now, in Ghana, African Development Bank funded cocoa project on 315 hectares of land. And then the African Development Bank requires that they should have a tree to provide shade for the cocoa. And then 2 Ghanaians in Kumasi, they came up with an idea that they could use plantain to provide the shade. And so the biggest nursery, plantain nursery in the world is in Ghana. What led to that was that there is a national cocoa board campaign, deliberate campaign, that they should rehabilitate the cocoa project. So everybody will come on board. Now for us, what we have in Nigeria is one person in the north is doing something. Even within the southwest region, there is no regional development unity among them. So you see them divided along party line. And so you cannot have a country that will grow as projected in that manner. So that's why I do not see us achieving all of this until we address the system.
Even though the plan is structured around 7 cluster areas, you've mentioned roads, that speaks to infrastructure. You've mentioned education, that speaks to human capital development. And you also mentioned regional development now.
Yes.
So these are these are 3 of the 7 clusters. But the regional development part, we have done it before.
That was in the days of Awolowo. That was then.
But it was the same Nigeria.
The same Nigeria. So the crop of
what did we have then
now,
that we don't have anymore?
In Latin, we say nemo dat quad non habet. You've heard that before a couple of times. The people that are driving the affairs of the country today, and we are referring to all the states and at the federal level, do not know where we are heading to. And if you don't know where you are going, you are just going to waste the fuel, and the engine may end up getting knocked. So it seems as if almost everybody in government, with the exception of a few, and those few, they are also not going to move because you have 90% of people that are slowing you down. They don't have the vision of what Nigeria should be. And it's high time we sit down together, in fact, before the election, to say, what is our focus? What are we doing about power? Look, from 1999 till date, we are still struggling with electricity.
You talked about vision. We'll come back to that one because there are, I mean, Alira, you remember, I always talk about that all the time. How do we know where we're going if we don't have an idea? But let me come to you, Mr. Andrews. Maybe I'm giving you a doctorate here.
I'll take it.
And then it's my friend. Dr. Adi, you spoke about education.
Yeah.
You know, the question that I usually ask is, ASU is on strike. It's like saying the university system is comatose as we speak, and it's been like that for decades, at the very least 4 decades. It's like there's a gradual deceleration of activities in the system. So brain drain, Japa, and all those things. We'll talk about that one later. But it is one of the critical clusters of this plan. Human capital development. On my list here, it's number 4. It's right in the middle of the list. What must be done, whether by the federal government or the state governments or both together, in terms of human capital development for this plan to work? I'm saying this not looking at, so it's just government, because in another 10 years, the set of people that are in government today will not be there. So if this plan will work or succeeded by something else, what must be done? Because don't forget, it's all towards the Nigeria agenda of 2050.
I think a lot of the problem we have is making simple issues complex. The Nigerian government is, and it's not generally this government, it's a continuum, has been socialist in a lot of its expressions. So the Nigerian government feels that it should still fund university education in Nigeria, a lot of, at least pay the school fees. And in its wisdom, it feels that that is the best way to educate its populace. It's shown over the last 20 years that it's not worked. First, you do not have the money for it. 2, you do not have the expertise for it. And more importantly, there's always a clash between both of you. I mean, ASU strike happened when I was in university. It's still happening today. So there's nothing relatively new in this scenario. If that is the case, and all of this I have put in front of us is the case, between 2 people who have a relationship, it is clear that it is not working. We should not be together. So, in simple terms, the straightforward way is to privatize the system. Now, when I say privatize the system, a lot of people will want to go up in arms and think, oh, then what happens to the children of the common man? How do they go to the university? And I also think that in trying to overemphasize university education in Nigeria, we have reduced the value of labor. So we are trying to emphasize that for you to go to university, for you to become something in life, you have to go to the university. But by doing that, we've also watered down the value of labor, because everybody now goes to the university, comes out, and there's no job.
But so we're trying to speak around the human capital development process now. Don't forget that, of course, you know, university is not the only one. There was a time in this country when I was in secondary school, the technical education institutions were very active.
Exactly.
The polytechnics were very, very
absolutely
active. And then, even then, secondary school, I think part of the design for the 6334 system under the Obasanjo government was, look, if by the end of the first 3 years in your secondary education you are not cut out for academics, you can always veer off. So if this plan is going to work, and we're supposed to really look at it the way it ought to be, what are the things that are missing in the entire gamut, not just, you know, specific segments?
I think the first thing is to take your hands off it as a government. You clearly do not have the expertise. Let the people who are qualified to run education run education. Let them charge for education as they feel it should be charged, so that they can give the very best education to the people going to school. Now, it comes down as it goes. So the university, a certain fee, that is that. You know, it goes down in cadres, the tertiary technical education, skill acquisition. We come down to those levels, so that people who, for instance, we have one economy that is largely informal, but you find out that almost all our tradesmen do not have any certification to back anything that they are doing. So they go to one place, they say they are apprentices, they get freedom, they come out, their work is still substandard. It is because we've not created a system that empowers every level of education, whether it be university education or learning a trade. All of it has, there's benefit in all those kind of labor, whether it is in the office or out on the field.
So do you think, Mr. Andrews, that brings up the question question which you brought up earlier. So what happens to the children of the
poor?
Of the poor.
Absolutely.
Will they not, I mean, because their parents are poor, they can therefore not acquire university education?
So this is where it also makes absolute sense. So if I privatize education in Nigeria as a government, what it does for any proper institution that is able to lend credit is that it knows that this particular institution is now formal in the way. So there are institutions today that give loans to go and study abroad. But there is no institution in Nigeria today that gives loans to study in Nigeria. There is a simple reason to it. The simple reason
how
is...
am I going to get a loan to study abroad? I'm trying to
leave your country.
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
That's cannot work.
But there's a simple
it encourages
reason.
you to
because
leave.
what it does, what the person giving the loan is able to factor in.
Just a second. I can't get past that. No. Who authorized that policy?
It's not a policy. It's just a business case. For me as a lender of credit, if you're going to go to a university, say in Germany, to study medicine,
I know when you're going to finish and when you're going to start paying back my money.
See,
Simple.
you see,
pure logic.
We're back to the same problem that we spoke about a long time ago. There is a wide gap between the rich and the poor. Now, the middle class also, they feel oppressed by the system. But I heard you, before we came into the studio, you were talking about Japa and the rest. The people that have left the country, they are not poor people. You had the banking sector. They said that succession plan is in crisis in banks because most middle-level managers, they have left the
candidates.
And the people that are leaving the country, because if you check the amount of money that you need to relocate to UK, US, or Canada and settle down, it's a lot of money. About 40 million, 30 million in some cases. Some people even get loan to have proof of fund, and they pay huge interest. People sell their cars, houses. Now, it's not as if they are poor, but they left because of the system. Now, we are back to the issue of the gap. You've seen a lot of pictures of children of ministers, governors that are graduating from university outside the country. And you feel that that's one of the reasons why they are not concerned about what is happening at home. Now, I always cast my mind back to people that are before me, who would not have gone to school if not for the free education by Jack Conde, Awolowo, and the rest of them. So we need to balance the system and look at how do we take care of people who have brilliant children. The house I used to live before, there is a girl beside my house. The mother sells pepper, and she was the best in mathematics in the junior secondary school in my state. You understand? So how do you debar this girl from going to the university? Because we want to privatize. So I think we all need to sit down together to say, how do we bridge the gap between the rich and the poor? In the West, you see that the gap is so close. You don't have too much gap between the rich and the poor because of the public facilities that are available. So if you are a billionaire in dollars, we meet together in the train. You are a billionaire in dollars. I don't know why we've not addressed health insurance. If all of us contribute to health insurance, the pool of fund will take care of some people who are poor, who may not be able to afford certain things. That's what Obama did in the US. So the gap that we have in the country has not holistically addressed certain class of people. And because of our system, a lot of people have the mindset that if I don't go to the university, I'm not going to be relevant. We know that technical education, if you are a plumber abroad, you probably make money more than some people who works in the office.
Blue-collar jobs.
Yes. So this is a system that we need to address. For me, I think government needs to put on the table, if we are going to privatize our universities, because the University of London, They have about 17 institutions under that university. You hardly hear about strike. It doesn't occur.
You never. Forget hardly. You never hear about strike.
But here, even the lecturers in the university, most of them are not putting in their best.
Because they're poorly paid.
Because when I do interview. When I interact with people from public universities, and I do interview for people from private universities or those who studied abroad, I see the gap clearly. Because you stay at home for 6 months, you go back, and then they rush you to do the exam. So we need to put on the table, what are we going to do for the poor who have brilliant children and they need to go to school?
I think there's always a devilish eye on capitalist agendas. And that devilish eye is what has kept us where we are. Is that suspicion that if capitalism prevails, the poor will die. It's a natural phenomenon. But you see what capitalism does, and I'm sorry I'm using the word capitalism because it does make my point a bit more evil looking. But
and you're not afraid.
But here is the thing, and this is what it does to the conversation you talked about in the gap. So if we have a privatized system, the daughter of that person who cannot afford for her child to go to that university will be able to get credit to go to the university because they know the university will close at a certain time. They will be able to come out at a certain time, and they'll be able to get a decent paying job at a certain level to be able to pay back the loan. It also says that when there is a certain cadre of universities, just the same way it happened in our banking system, where you have the tier 1 banks, you have the tier 2 banks, you have the regional banks, you now have the microfinance banks who are even located to states. Some are even located to local governments. You would then have tiered investors who will invest in different levels of education. Maybe I have the money to be able to set up a university, I will set up one. Maybe I only have money to set up a small technical school that can only train 100 children or 100 students. That is what I will do. But it means that my capital investment can go into the right place and be able to bring out the right results. What it does also is that it then takes up away the burden on government. For government to be able to, that away from it, it's able to focus on what it can do well. Because right now, government is not doing any of it well.
Even that leads me to the question around public administration.
What is government going to do well then is the question.
Okay.
You need to ask question. What is government going to do well?
You see, I like to... Just a second, sir. I like to decrypt government. Because you see, government is so utopian. When you say government, who or what unit of government? Is it the customs? Is it the federal government? Even if we're talking about government, we're talking about, at the very least, 500 ministries, departments, and agencies. So it's so generic for us to say government. And it's kind of allows a lot of vacuum space for government to escape. Because we're talking about ASU strike, for instance, as I said when we were opening. For God's sake, someone just forgot to do what he or she was supposed to do. And there is no reprimand. So, speaking to public administration, there are people who are supposed to do some things. I remember when this government came in, I think in 2019, 2015, 2016, I heard a lot of some volume from the vice president himself about reforming the civil service, the federal civil service. And there are many who believe that that is the hub of most of the issues that we have. And that if this plan is going to go anywhere, unless we reform that sector, we are just window shopping.
I agree. So that takes us back to the issue. You have the civil service, so many ministries that are not necessary. As an investor, I'm not going to inherit this kind of government, assuming Nigeria is for sale, for example. I'm not going to buy Nigeria and inherit the liabilities that are on ground. You now have to do what we call performance appraisal. What is the return that is going to come? What is the benefit, direct and indirect? So the system that we've had over the years, maybe from 1960, from my interaction with the elders, those that are in their 80s now, is that what civil service have done over the years now is to mop up the unemployed people from the labor market, and so they are always very scared of retrenching people, of asking people to go. But I bet you, if you ask 50% of the workforce, I'm not talking of ghost workers now, they are going to probably do better on their own and earn better if they work with their hands. With my experience in business, I've also interacted with people when they retire and they talk about their gratuity, they talk about their pension. I said, so this is all you have spent your 35 years to do, and then sometimes they don't get the gratuity. So I think what is the problem is that the system has a lot of leakages, and so people are many in the system, not because they want to serve the people, but because of the leakages, and government is aware of this. So you now discover that when you are giving an appointment, I was discussing with two generals in the army yesterday, retired, and they said to me that the problem of governance is not only with the people that occupy the office, but with the followers. So if they announce you now, or you now as minister, before we leave this studio, some people will call you and begin to congratulate you and say, yes, I know her, I have her number, and they want to visit your office. Not to visit to advise you, is to say, what can we get from here? So this is the problem, and this is the angle from which people have looked at government. But if you take government as a business and say, let me have the performance index, KPI, the key performance index, what are you able to achieve? There are people who don't go to work for months in some ministries,
and get paid.
some MDAs. Yeah. The other time, I had the National Assembly. These guys in National Assembly, they are doing some good things now in their oversight function, and then I've listened to some of the public hearings. They asked one man, and he was telling us about Raw Material Research Institute or something that they have pumped money into over the years. And they asked him, what did you achieve over the years? He said, we have modernized the production of suya. I was almost weeping. You know,
was it suya or kilishi?
Kilishi,
just to be clear.
You have it. Yes. We've modernized the production of kilishi, Raw Material Institute or something. Now, this is an agency that is supposed to go into research to say, you are producing something, what can I supply to you? So this is the problem that we have. So it's more or less create ministries, create agencies, so we can just dump people there.
Yeah.
In the past, in the days of the likes of Simeon Adebo, best brains were in the civil service. But now that has gone.
What happened? Okay, you wanted to...
Yes, I want to take Mr. Andrews back a bit. You know that thing about you go through school, and on the next step, of course, you want to go to university. And it hasn't always been like this, as you pointed out. Number one, what happened? And number two, we need to change that mindset that the logical step after secondary school is university. There is either university or technical school, but nobody wants to go to technical school anymore. So how can we change that mindset so that we realize that it is not automatically a university which you may go to and not get a job? Technical school happens to actually be a better option in the Nigeria of today, where you can come out and be your own master, doing things with your hands, which seems to be more profitable these days. My closest friend, she has passed now, was a medical doctor, but she was also a seamstress. After doing her medical work from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and she confessed that she was making more money from making clothes than from being a doctor.
Absolutely.
So how do you achieve that mindset change?
I think we even have a very unique opportunity right now, especially with the age of the internet and technology, and the fact that the world has a shortage of developers. I think we have a unique opportunity to be able to not only skill up a lot of our young Nigerians, but also be able to give them opportunities to be able to earn at a very decent rate, not only as earning from Nigeria, but they can, have remote jobs across the world. But you see, it all starts at the very simple basis of us being honest with ourselves. It takes a lot of honesty to come to the point where we first agree that a university degree in Nigeria today isn't as valuable as it used to be 30 years ago. And I apologize to anybody who is about to come out from the university or just came out. It is not as valuable as it used to be. If we continue to dress it up and put makeup on it, we will continue to lie to ourselves. So
and devalue it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So exactly, we devalue it ultimately. So I think it really needs to come from a collective agreement or a collective conversation around the value that every Nigerian can prefer to themselves by skilling up in different angles, which doesn't necessarily say you have to go to the university, especially if we agree that our university degree today is not as valuable as it was 30 years ago. Then it starts to make people ask the question, do I really need to go to the university? Because a developer who started to learn how to code, I would know this because I run a technology business, and I can tell you the most in-demand skill is technology, developers. And not only are they in demand, you also run the risk of losing them to competition. Now, not competition in Nigeria alone, you lose everybody, somebody's trying to call them from Germany, somebody's trying to snatch them from Canada. They're in high demand, and we do not have enough.
Wow.
We do not have enough, and you can.
I hope young people are listening to you.
No, so I'm sure it's common knowledge that Nigerians know that being a developer is actually worth more in Nigeria today than going to school. Okay, scrap that. It is worth more than going to university in most countries of the world. In most countries of the world, I mean. People usually talk about this person dropped out of school, went to go and create this big business. The reason they dropped out of school was because they could develop. They were developers and they could code. And they felt, what exactly am I going to school to do? I already have the skills I need to be able to do what I need to do. So why?
There's a way.
Ultimately, it is in us, first of all, agreeing that our university education is not what it used to be. And parents also agreeing. Because, parents too are a problem in this matter.
Let's first of all speak to the systems. Now,
and what about the technical schools themselves?
We do not have enough. Do we have them skilled as they used to be?
Perhaps one of the challenges, because I remember there is a technical school called St. Andrew's College, I think, somewhere in Oyo. Okay, I understand that that's a teacher's school. There was this technical school.
There used to be a petroleum training institute somewhere in the Niger Delta.
Yeah,
I even wanted to go to it at some point.
There's one. There is a technical school. I think it's private sector funded on Agedengbe in Ikeja.
Yes.
It's public support. There is some partnership with private, sector organizations. Some of these electronic organizations. The gentlemen, now something is clear. As you have both explained, we have a systemic problem. Otherwise, this yam will not grow.
Oh, yes.
Simple.
Now, we have just about 5 minutes to close this segment. So, gentlemen, if this yam must grow, if this national development plan must work, if we will take the first step towards Nigeria Agenda 2050, what must happen in 2023 to take us, to give us a first step towards that direction?
Okay. I think, taking from where we stopped, because there is a cultural and psychological thinking about education, my suggestion to people is that the technical schools, we will give them certification. And I think Switzerland, or one of those countries, the highest paid person, the MD, cannot earn, the least paid person cannot earn less than 25% of the highest paid person in the company. So what it means is that even if you go to technical school, you know that the amount that is a professor, that is the MD, the difference between you, it can be above, below 25%. So we need to have a roadmap on reforming our education system, how we need to reform the civil service, and then let's have an agenda for the country. Where are we going? The era of losing all our people, going to Canada, to UK, we are still going to have problem. The gap is going to be created. So we need to look at that. And then the system. And all the departments and agencies of government, the whole system must work together with unity.
In parentheses, Dr. Adeoye, if we are able to get this plan on the road, do you see a scenario where those people you have mentioned who have jackbarred will be willing to come back to Nigeria?
I think so. Because I spoke to people in Canada in recent times, and people told me that this code is killing, that they wish they can come back to eat amala and ewedu and gbegiri here again. They wish they can come and eat the corn on the road if the system is okay. The system is a problem. There are people who studied overseas, some of our friends, everybody coming back home to do something for themselves. But we need a roadmap. And we all must sit down together and say, this is where we are going. Short term, mid term, long term. And then we focus on achieving this.
Mr. Andrews?
I think it starts with honesty. It's unfortunate that is the crux of everything. We have to be honest with ourselves that we do not have the money to do all the things we say we want to do. And if we don't have the money, then we must leave the things that we cannot do to people who can do them. So let government be government and let business be business. Everything that is business should remain with business, and everything government, let them focus on government. And when I say government, it's about aligning with policy and creating direction, creating an enabling environment, not necessarily putting your hands in how much people get petrol and how much people buy gas and who gets electricity and who doesn't. Leave that to the business people. Water will find its level. Let that work. When you have enough money, you can come and intervene.
Okay. There was something you spoke to the other time, Dr. Adeoye, and I would like us to close with that. It also stems from this mail from John Ogolo, who says, our national development plans have not been working because they are mere paperwork. Their formulation and implementation are not driven by vision, commitment, sacrifice, capacity, and competence. More importantly, sustainability measures were not inbuilt into the development plans. Consequently, successive governments find it easy to jettison ongoing plans. You spoke the other time to vision. Where do we take the first step from that? There are those who believe, like you say, that we do not have a national vision. So, and if you don't have a national vision, you don't have restraint.
And that's why I always say that in Africa, when you see a governor comes on board, or the president, they just shift completely from everything their predecessor have been doing, whether good or bad. I would say you can shift from what is bad, but anything that is good. And that's why I talked about the National Development Plan, that the National Assembly need to pass into law and say, this is the direction. So if you come on board, you can't change it. You must follow it. So we have the short term, we have the mid-term, and we have the long term. So for 4 years that you are in office, we have a yardstick to measure your performance. You must give us so number of electricity generation in the country within so time. Be it private sector or government with government involvement, But if you don't have that passed to law, people can just wake up and say, no, I don't want to do this.
All right. Well, Mr. Andrews, the vision of Nigeria Agenda 2050 is long. So let me read it. To make Nigeria a country that has unlocked its potential in all sectors of the economy for a sustainable, holistic, and inclusive national development. Do you think it is something sustainable? A vision that is sustainable?
To unlock, let's not go into the semantics of what the wordings, but every part of the economy is unlocked, and it's unlocked despite government. I think that's the whole story and the whole message in the agenda. It is unlocked despite government. Government should just step back and let business be business.
Okay. Or despite the disturbance of government. Oh, yes. I'm just modifying what, because the despite is trying to
be nice.
To be nice, despite the disturbance of government.
But is that to say that government is irrelevant in all of these?
No, private sector will do business, but government should provide an enabling environment. Rather than provide an enabling environment, they are disturbing your business.
But then they have laws.
Multiple taxation is an example.
They have laws that allow them to do the things that they do.
That's why we need to have a national development plan that is passed to law that every successive government must follow. So you don't see because Alero is not my friend.
The point that you both made the other time about synergy, or rather lack of synergy or lack of coherence among public organizations.
Then you fire people who are not doing well. You violate the law. For example, I told you what happened in 2017. They told customs, do not stay beyond 40 kilometers so that you don't disturb businesses. Nobody is listening. So if I am the president, I will fire the Controller General of Customs. The next person that comes in there is an aberration, sir. You have a military man heading customs. Where is that done? People that have gone for training in customs, who knows that after spending 33, 35 years, they are likely to become the head. They know the system.
Okay.
So maybe they are sabotaging it. So heads are not rolling. This is also a problem.
Okay. True. Well, it still goes back to public administration. But, gentlemen, we have to just close it here. Dr. Gbenga Adeoye is a chartered accountant. Thank you so much for coming and for bringing your plans, as well as Mr. Tunji Andrew, CEO of Aba. Thank you so much for your time this morning. So, that done, we step into the next one, the Jaguar Syndrome, after now.
Thank you for staying with us. I'm sure that you all know the meaning of this word that has now evolved into our dictionary. Japa is now a buzzword, and it's actually a Yoruba word which means emigrate.
Leave.
Nigerians who emigrate are highly qualified specialists with skills in engineering, medicine, education, law, information technology, and many more. Most of them, of course, are gainfully employed as nurses, medical doctors, lecturers, and IT professionals in the US, in the UK, in Saudi Arabia, South Africa, in Canada, and so on. So what is the reason for this new syndrome in Nigeria? Why are young people so, well, not just young people actually, even older ones, are so eager to get away from this country, whereas this is the only country that we have? Well, we're going to discuss this with two gentlemen this morning. It's my pleasure to welcome the head consultant and CEO of IntelServe, a business consultant and a business intelligence analyst, Mr. Roman Osegale.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
He's with us in the studio here in Lagos, and joining us virtually is a human resource and education professional, Mr. Yomi Fawayimi. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. Nice to have you. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Segale, why are you still in Nigeria?
A very great place to start.
Okay. I am actually engaged to a company which I'm consulting for. And I think I came in last year, and the company saw what I did.
You came in?
Last year.
You mean you were away?
No, I came in to the country last year.
That's what I'm saying.
I really don't
You
live
had
here.
Jackbad.
Yeah, I've been out of this country for quite a while. So I visited last year, and a company engaged me. So I've been.
So you're among those we're talking about.
So that's why.
You have since Jackbad.
I've left this country since 2013, but before then, my family had left, I think, in 2005. So I was just going back and forth, back and forth.
What was the reason for them leaving?
Well, I think
for all of you leaving?
It got to a point, my wife then just got fed up of the medical practice here and said she wasn't interested in practicing medicine here anymore. I think something happened where she works, and she said, you know, the extent of what was going on, it wasn't professional, and the way they practice medicine in Nigeria was not professional.
You know, this is it's disturbing, because these are the same doctors who leave this country, and they're doing fantastically well in other climes, and our governors and our big men in this country live here to go for medical treatment abroad, and most of the time it is Nigerian doctors who attend to them.
So, see, you can't stop people from migrating. If you look at Europe in the 1700s, 1800s, and 1900s, a lot of people left Europe to the New World, and that's North America. And it was basically because of probably the feudal system then, and poverty, and also they say Europe was built on war, and the war that was going on in Europe. So I want to read something to you. It says, from the United Nations, it says, why people migrate. People move in search of work or economic opportunities to escape poverty, to join family, or to study. Others move to escape conflict, ranging from insecurity, persecution, terrorism, or human rights violation. Still, others move in response to the adverse effect of climate change, natural disasters, or other environmental factors, which may include population density and demographic. Now, what you need to look at here, which of this condition does Nigeria fall into?
Almost all.
So, no. So, from your findings, what have you been able to find?
I'm a data person. I don't talk outside numbers. I sent in some slides before now, and if they will project those slides, it will be nice.
Which one of them?
Let's go to slide 1.
Okay.
Slide 1.
But before you speak to those, let me ask Mr. Fawemi, perhaps for his own opening statements as well. This trend is not new to you. I mean, you've been hearing about this for a while as well. And what is concerning now is the new wave, so to speak. The new wave of people emigrating from Nigeria. I mean, classic case, a memorable case of the Jaguar Syndrome in the 80s was Andrew. I'm sure you remember Andrew. It was on the NTA, and it was literally saying, people, don't leave Nigeria, we all can make it work, and all of that. But it seems no one is interested in that anymore.
Interesting, and thanks for connecting with Andrew. Right, it's very interesting. I mean, before the 80s, we should actually go further down. I mean, so if you check the people that were the leading lights of the fight for independence in Nigeria, the Awolowos of this world, the Tafawa Balewas of this world, most of people in that generation at one point actually left Nigeria abroad. So we had those leading lights who did that. And it was just because of the fact that they had to leave, because some of them wanted to pursue educational opportunities that was not available in Nigeria. I mean, the first major social political organization that late Obafemi established was actually established in the UK. Now, so That was the first generation. Now, let's remember the fourth generation of Nigerians that left Nigeria abroad went through slavery, so they were forced to go. So before we even talk about in the 2000s, is let's remember the first set went by slavery. The second set went to pursue economic and educational for purposes. So that's the generation of the Awolowos and co. The next generation was the generation that left in the 50s. They went in the 50s because some of the educational results are started to come in, and some of them wanted to become engineers. I remember you had two options then in Nigeria. If you wanted to do higher education, you have the Jaguar College of Technology available for you and the University of Ibadan. You remember the University of Ibadan was essentially more humanities and the arts at that point, and the tech opportunity. So you have a lot of people who had to go abroad to pursue those ambitions. So that was the second generation. The third generation was the 80s, and it was just a result of economic challenges and also education, because at that point, that was when we started to have a relatively high failure rate of WAEC. At that point, the 80s Japa for the young people was more like people who didn't pass WAEC will go abroad and go and become professionals. I mean, and they'll go study and stuff like that. Now, we have, like, in my view, a fourth generation, which is a reaction to the socioeconomic situation we have in Nigeria. But let us remember, because when we talk about this Japa, there's a sense in which we feel is a Nigerian problem. If you go back to traditional or classical economics, there are four factors of production. Of those four factors of production, the most mobile is capital. So today we celebrate foreign direct investment, we celebrate foreign money coming to Nigeria. We don't have a problem with that. Now, the second factor of production that is most mobile is labor. Labor will always respond because it's a mobile thing. If you think about it, we're all walking on two legs, and those two legs are supposed to make us move. Now, it's not only Nigeria that are moving, it's a global phenomenon. When the US Open was concluded this week, and that young man, the 19-year-old, I told somebody that the winner of the US Men's Open is a teenager. He's 19 years old. If you check the guy's story, there is the element of Japa, if you allow me to say, in immigration there. So I wrote a very short article that my conclusion after observing young winners of tennis in the last couple of years is that there's practically a story related to immigration to it. So, and the immigration does not have to be from poor countries to rich countries. There's actually sometimes within rich countries. We had a situation in one of the Grand Slams where two teenagers got to the final, and one of them emigrated from the UK to Canada, while the other one emigrated from Canada to the US. So you see a situation that people are responding to where they will likely get
What is concerning
results.
for us, Mr. Fawemi, is that it is literally depleting the system. I'm sure you understand why the concern is high now. It was the same thing, as you rightly pointed out, in the 80s when the federal government put out words through the official, well, the government stations then, that Nigerians should stay in the country. It's like depleting the human resources of the country. That is what the concern is, and it will seem like the same thing is happening again. Those other places, better opportunities, of course. But the concern here is, of course, people are not happy with what is happening in the country, socioeconomic reactions and all, but it's not just looking good now, nor in the future.
Okay, great point. But let me also put it back to you. You watched the Olympics game. You saw the way the women made us proud, winning gold medals, from people like Toby Amushon to some of the Paralympians, as we call them then, winning all of those medals for Nigeria. My question to you is that how many of them were in Nigeria? How many of them that represented us were living in Nigeria? Toby Amushon, for example, is a young lady that used to run in Ogun State. At some point, a university abroad pushed her, developed her, and she now represents Nigeria, and she won the gold medal and we were all happy. So when you say depleting, when Toby Amushon left, what was the depletion? What was the gap our absence created? And as our absence not being a benefit to us? So the point I'm trying to make is that people migrating is not a problem. The problem is, what are you doing with those resources? So for example, I am not currently in Nigeria, your TV station reached out to me and invited me to join the discussion with you in Lagos. Now, the question is, if you tell me that I must come down physically, you will not be able to have the opportunity for us to have this dialogue. But you have created a system that made me contribute to what you are discussing.
Are you then saying that? Are you then saying that the Jaguar Syndrome is not a concern?
It's not a concern, Mr. Let me talk to Auntie Alera and to you. All of you Japan to Lagos, you're not Lagosians. You were born in Ife, Oshogbo, Ilesha, Kanemberi, the Benin Kebbi. You were born in Benin. You were born in Asaba. You moved to Lagos. Why is it that we can accept that somebody can move from Ogun to Lagos and that same person now moves from Lagos to Canada or to Europe and we are complaining?
Okay.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. We are still in our country, Mr. Fawaimi. We are still in Nigeria.
In the 20th century, borders of nations are just markers of identities. They are not determinants of the flow of resources, of knowledge, of contribution.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Fawaimi. Thank you.
We'll come back to you.
Do you agree with him?
I don't. And I'll place my arguments on analysis. As I said earlier, let's go to slide 1. If they're going to project the slides. Between 1981 and 2021, the Naira.
There it is.
Good. The Naira has depreciated against the dollar, a currency it was once stronger than, by 67,605%. Nobody's looking at the numbers.
67,000%.
Let's go back to Andrew. You see, when you match numbers against timelines, against events, then things become clearer. Why was Andrew living in the early 80s? The same thing that happened in the early 80s is happening all over again. The oil boom of the 70s ended in 1980. Between 1980, 81, 82, 83, I think 81, 82, 83. Let's go to slides, please. Go to slide 4. Between 1981, 82, and 83, Nigeria recorded a combined trade deficit of 19.96 billion US dollars. While the oil boom came to an end, that means our GDP dropped. GDP per capita dropped. And as that happened, as the trade deficit came in, inflation came in. Your wealth started being eroded. Now, I read initially why the UN says people migrate. Majorly why people are migrating is because of economic reasons. Mm-hmm. And if you look at what has happened again in the year 2000, the oil boom of the year 2000, if you look at this graph, between 2004 and 2013 alone, we recorded 182.3 billion in trade surplus, all coming as a result of what? Oil boom of the 2000s. That ended in 2013. Between 2014 and 2020, we have recorded 102 billion US dollars in trade deficit. Your wealth is being eroded again. So what happened in the early 80s, why people were jackpotting in the early 80s, is happening again. So until...
Economic reasons.
Good. I, for one, for instance, if you bought a house or you built a house in 1981, when the dollar equaled 61 kobo, maybe for a million naira, that means that house was worth maybe about 1.3, 1.4 million in US dollars, right? Now, look at the value of that house today. Maybe you'll be selling for 250 or 300 million, if you're lucky enough. Ouch. What is the value in US dollars today? Ouch. So in 40 years, you're actually walking backwards. Today, let me show you something. Go to slide 5. Slide 5. As of today, your per capita income is lower than what you had in 1981. So 40 years after, or 41 years after, as of 2021, you're poorer. So the reason why people are moving is because they want wealth, they want to build wealth that can be preserved. Yes. I think 2018 or so, 2017, I can't remember, Dangote said he wanted to open a New York office. When he was being interviewed, he said something about preserving his family wealth. But people could not lay a hand on what he was saying because the Naira was eroding. And what makes it so bad is that during boom, economic boom, and during economic recessions, the Naira depreciates. It's only, the difference is just the rate of depreciation. During recession, it depreciates faster. During growth, it depreciates slower. Why? Because you have a lot of trade surpluses that supplies your dollars. So that alone helps stabilize the Naira to some extent. But
so, essentially, you're looking at the economic reasons.
Yes, people are living for economic reasons.
Okay, but
second, let me quickly say this. Second, the poverty, the middle class is being eroded. There was a time I came on this studio where I talked about the poverty trap. Now, how much do you spend on school fees? By the time you calculate your school fees in a year, you cannot build wealth. That's the truth. So people are moving to climates whereby they can create and build wealth over time, where the currency is stable. And for us to be able to stop this Jaguar Syndrome, you need to address those issues. Without that, people will leave. You can't hold people back.
Is that the only reason why people are leaving? Just the economic reasons?
Majorly,
okay.
95%.
Well, Mr. Fawemi, you heard that. I'm sure you may want to react to that. Do you agree that, because it's not just for, I mean, there are many definitions then, but the economic reasons primarily is what many people, always attach the reasons for leaving the country to?
Data can be masked. Data can be presented to tell stories. You can use data to tell stories. That's the whole essence of data analytics, right? But you must also look at it holistically, because human beings earn wages. There's a sense in which we can use data to prove that the only motivation for human action is money. But we know that there is also intrinsic and extrinsic motivation for why people move. People move because of economic reasons. People move because of their own personal aspiration. I just told you, I mentioned names of people who left Canada to go to the US because they want to become world champions in tennis.
Well, Mr. Fawemi, that is valid.
Sorry,
sincerely.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Okay.
You know a Naomi Osaka. You know her story. You know she left Japan to go to the US to become a tennis star. So the point I'm trying to make is that there are myriads of reasons why people Japan, but I'm not sure that is actually the issue. I think the bigger question we should ask as Nigeria is, what can we do to maximize every Nigerian resource wherever he is in the world?
Perhaps before we get to that, because already one way or the other, Nigeria benefits from her citizens all over the place. But the concern, is that a much higher number of young people are leaving the country, and they'll do anything to just get out of the country. For instance, I mean, if I can borrow Mr. Segale's slides here, and I think is the second of the slides speaks to overall youth unemployment and underemployment rate in the country. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the fact that young people don't have jobs and the opportunities are just not looking nice to them, look at the figures that you can see on the screen. If the opportunities are not just good enough or nice enough for them, they want to, as we say, go to greener pastures, also known as Japa. So, I mean, speak to that, because if the opportunities were at home, would they really leave the country?
No.
Again, you see, you know, I'm an HR professional, right? That's what I do for a living. That's what I train as. All these arguments that the only reason why people are moving is for economic reason, I'm saying it's not the only reason. It's an important reason. It's a critical reason, but that's not the only reason.
But it's the reason a higher number of people are leaving. Perhaps they would leave, but maybe not just at that same velocity.
Again, don't forget that we should not use Lagos to determine Nigeria. The reason why many people are leaving Lagos, remember, and you know, I always try to say that there's a sense in which living in Lagos makes us feel what happens in Lagos is what happens all over Nigeria. Remember, Lagos is a peculiar situation because many people migrated to Lagos. They already started the migration path, and it's easy for them to move again elsewhere. If you go to talk to somebody in other parts of Nigeria, this fear of many people are leaving. I am an HR professional. I sit on boards of HR professional institutes in Nigeria. It's not the reality of every part of Nigeria because of the fact that some people have chosen not to move. The point I'm trying to make is that economic reasons drive a lot of migration. For the younger people, particularly today, over 1.8, 1.9 people write JAM. Admission was only given to between 400 and 500,000. That gap, those people will seek for economic opportunities. Remember also two other factors which are external to what we do in Nigeria is the fact that many countries in the world are deliberately hunting for people. I gave the example of the UK. Immediately Brexit happened and the Europeans had to leave the workforce in UK. The UK government strategically took a decision to increase the number of international students and give them access to work afterwards. Many Nigerians went on that thing. There are also the fact that globally, countries are developing strategies to hunt for people. I give the same example of Tubi Amusha I mentioned.
Again, Mr. Fawemi, you just underscored the importance. Why, leave the gaps? Let me bring that to you, Mr. Segale. The examples. We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you, Mr. Fawemi. So why leave the opportunities for other people to reap from the brains of your professionals?
To answer that question, let's go to slide. No, let's go to slide 8, please.
I want us to begin. We have just a second. We have just about 15 minutes to close this. So we need to begin to look at solutions.
Good. Now,
how do we reverse the trend?
Look, to reverse the trend, you need to invest. You need to look at the problem, cause and effect, right? Look at slide 8. United States, human capital. Of all the wealth the United States has, human capital accounts for 244 trillion. Physical capital, all those razzmatazz you see, the high-rise, the highways, all their infrastructure only account for 62 trillion. So the human capital assets ratio, let's just say 4 to 1. Look at France, ratio 3 to 1. Look at Britain, ratio 4.2 to 1. 4.2 to 1. You understand? Now, if you look at the investment in human capital, it's not encouraging. We have what I mapped out when I looked at the Western world, Asia, then I came to Africa. You may want to go to slide. Sorry, please. You may want to go to slide 3. Nigeria invests the least in the world. Why are these people taking your human capital? Because human capital assets is the largest chunk of assets any country has. You need to understand how these things work. The World Bank classified the wealth of every country into 4 broad categories: produced assets, human capital asset, natural asset, and your net foreign assets. The OECD countries, on an average, 75% of their total wealth is human capital. The United Kingdom, 89% of the total wealth of the United Kingdom is human capital. 75% of US wealth is human capital. Japan has the highest. Over 90% of their wealth is human capital. So they know what they are doing when they are telling you we want skilled labor. They are taking your wealth. As of 2012, Nigeria's total wealth, 55% of it was human capital. So let me ask you, if you have different asset classes and you have to invest, will you not invest in the one that gives you the highest return? Obviously, that's where you put most of your money. That's what the Western world is doing. That's what we are supposed to be doing. That's what we are not doing. And that's why people will continue to leave. They see that you have these assets. The asset will bring them productivity. Productivity will bring them profit. Productivity will increase their economy. So it is not just about Japa. They are depleting your assets.
Mr. Segale, if they have invested so much in theirs and they have so much of their own, why are they still doing long throat for our own?
You need to understand. Let me say this. If you go through the process, if you go through all the industrial revolutions, first industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, third industrial revolution, the proposed fourth industrial revolution, you will find one thing that is certain, that repeats itself: migration. And when you find out migration, the first industrial revolution, steam engine, England, Britain then, you know what they did? The government quickly moved in and passed policies. Because they did not have enough skilled people, they opened their borders to skilled immigrants from Eastern Europe. The same thing, the US, the second industrial revolution, over 10 million people entered the US.
From
you understand?
Europe.
Yes. They know that these things are going to grow their economy. So basically what is going on now is the human capital need for the fourth industrial revolution. We are not looking at it.
Okay. Mr. Fawemi, I go back to an example that I heard of the University College Hospital in Ibadan, that people came from that country where you are now to give birth in Nigeria at UCH in Ibadan. Call that migration, perhaps because the eggheads were there and able to do that. But I'm not sure how many people will confidently want to do that anymore. Speak to some of the issues that you've heard Mr. Segale raise in the light of this example that I just gave.
So again, let's stop data. 2019, citizens immigration to Canada by country, 2019. The highest country was India. You may talk about poverty, but the next country was China. 3 times more Chinese came to India than Nigerians. There were 12,600 Nigerians that immigrated to Canada. Because we keep saying this thing as if 1 million Nigerians are left, 12,000. Now, let me tell you what will shock you. 12,000 Nigerians immigrated to Canada. 10,000 Americans immigrated to Canada. So the number of Americans and the number of Nigerians that immigrated are almost the same number. I'm looking at the data here. Just to say, human beings are designed to move. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, as a country, what do we do to benefit from where our people is? I give the example of the US. As a US citizen, you are supposed to file your tax wherever you are in the world. You work in Togo, you work in Eritrea, you work in Ethiopia. When you make money there, it doesn't matter whatever you are doing there, you are expected to still file your taxes for the US government and pay a difference. That's what the US has done to ensure all its human capital all over the world is still paying tax to the US. That is something we need to try to think about. I give an example again of Cuba. Cuba has invested heavily in the health sector. We have doctors. As I currently speak, a territory in Canada is going to mobilize nurses from Cuba to come and work for 5 years. The Cuban government has designed a system where countries come there and get their people, and their people are made to pay taxes despite the fact that they are working in Canada or they are working in the US. You've seen it happen over time. When we had Ebola, you knew what Cuba did. For those that like football, we're all here. I mean, many people like football. Later in the day, there'll be a lot of football matches. The EPL is composed of players who are not essentially from the UK. The UK has created a system. They claim that they introduced football, but they have created a beautiful system that have attracted footballers from all over the world. They make a lot of money and they pay taxes to the UK government. Why, for example, can't we as Nigerians start to think about it? We train somebody to be a doctor from Unilag or UCH, or to be an engineer, or to be an HR person. The person in Nigeria, if he attended a federal university by policy, tuition is free. He gets a Nigerian certificate. After he finishes NYSC or before he goes, he leaves Nigeria and goes to work elsewhere. And we don't have any scheme to ensure this person contributes to Nigeria. What other nations are doing deliberately is to ensure that if you got free tuition education and you leave, you will have to either return the money for the free tuition you got, or you have to contribute to that system. That is what countries are doing strategically to ensure they get value from their people. A Nigerian, by definition, by our constitution, is not somebody who lives in Nigeria. A Nigerian, by our laws and our constitution, is somebody who became a Nigerian either by birth or through the grandparents or become nationalized. Those people are Nigerians, and we must start to think about how to maximize them wherever they are. Whether they are running in US as Toby Amusho, whether they are playing football in Spain like Osimhen, whether they are dancing like my dear friend Segun Lawal is doing in UK. We have to create laws and policies and systems to ensure these people contribute to the state. That is what we should deal with. People will move when they choose to move. Our current president, President Buhari, was born in Daura. He moved to Abuja because of opportunities. If he finishes there, he's going to go back somewhere else. The problem is not fighting whether people move or not. The problem is wherever you move to, contribute.
But you, Mr. Fawemi, have always been concerned about the states and the standard of education in the country. So the fact that people, I know that because we've had conversations around this. So the fact that people, the education is not going the way it ought to go, and human capital flight also equals financial flight, is something that concerns anyone. Somehow, I feel it concerned you at some point.
No, but so the question is, do we want to keep talking about the problems, or what can we do about it?
That's the point. See, one of the challenges here is, if the people who are supposed to, I mean, you heard Mr. Segale talk about, you know, the value of human capital in the different countries. And so if this value leaves the country, who is going to add, or how do we add value to the nation as it is, when it's the brain of the person that is more needed, not the money that the person is going to repatriate home?
So the question we need to ask ourselves, so what do we do?
Exactly. So what do we do?
I have taught in 4 universities in Nigeria since 1996. And there was a point in the whole of the West African sub-region, the only country that had people trained to become metrologists in this West African sub-regions was a university in Ondo State. That was the only program of metrology. There was a time that the only program to become a mining engineer in the whole of the West African sub-region was another university in Ondo State. And what was happening was there was a massive influx of students from Cameroon, from Liberia, from Niger, coming to that school to learn and to become a student, and we're paying Forex at that point. The question we ask ourselves now is that where are those unique things that we are creating to attract people? Because the question is, sometimes this immigration is a question of plus minus. Okay. Some of your people will travel, some people will also come. We need to start to create those things again that we attract people.
Okay.
You gave the example of University. I mean, let me stop on this note. You gave the example of University College Hospital in Ibadan, the UCH. Interestingly, the Queen just died. She was the one that commissioned that building. There was a time when the normal thing was that the elites of Africa come to give back there. Why do they do that? We have created something to attract them. So part of what we need to start to think about is what we should do to create that. And we're already seeing that in what happens in December in Lagos. The amount of people that come back to Lagos between December and January for the various social events and the various activities that happen that time already shows we can start to attract people. The question is that what can we do to make them stay longer?
Okay.
What can we do to make them contribute?
All right.
That is what we should be doing.
So
we must start winding down now. So we must start talking solutions now.
Okay.
Things that we can do to make sure that our citizens stay here and to attract other people so that we too are among those who are bringing in human capital.
Okay, so he said something about 10,000 Americans moving to
as
Canada,
opposed to 12,000
right?
Nigerians.
Now, you need to find out the level of people who leave the U.S. who come to Canada. They are not their best brains. Most of the people that come to Canada,
working class,
probably maybe looking for the social system. You understand? So there's a problem when you're best, and then the amount. I said something before when I was giving my opening speech, that you can't stop people from migrating. There are different reasons. But our major, over 90%, will tell you it's economy, right? Now, if you want to look at it holistically, how many people went to Canada? Maybe 12,000. I think in 2015 or 2016 alone, about 15,000 Nigerian nurses and doctors went to UK. Do you understand? So when that majority are your best brains, if that happened in the US would declare a state of emergency. And they want to know why these people are leaving. So to reverse, to go back to your question, or your comment that we need to start winding down, what are the solutions? See, we operate what I have come to term an asset depletion economy. Look at it, how many people are in Canada? How many people are in Europe? Scattered around all over other African countries. Our economic model is not designed to create wealth. It impoverishes the people. You see the inflation, the erosion of your wealth over 40 years I showed you earlier, right? Until people are convinced and they have that, well, yes, I can be here, make my wealth. In 20 years' time, I know that I'm going to be worth this. If you walk in those countries, you can make your projections. They are very easy. But here, you can't make projections. That is why people want to move. Second, if you look at that same slide 3, human capital development, we invest the least in the world. The countries that invest the high amount of money or funds in human capital development, you find out that their best brains most of the times are in the country, because they know that the country will mean well for them and their future. They can be used. Most people here, look at underemployment from one of the slides we showed.
The second one.
Yes, underemployment is so high. So you finish school, and then you graduate as maybe an engineer or doctor or something, and you're going to drive Uber. You're underemployed because you're not utilized to your full capacity. All these are frustrating to the average citizen of the country.
Okay. Now, talking solutions, I mean, you also heard what he said about creating structures around values that can either retain people in Nigeria or motivate Nigerians abroad to repatriate funds, to pay taxes to the country, and all of that one. What do you make of that?
Well, the taxes, okay. I think Nigeria has tax treaties with most countries, right? So in such a case, it might go 50-50. For instance, if you live in Canada and you are a resident of the US, you're bound to pay taxes in both countries, right? Canadian taxes are higher. US taxes are lower. So what Canada does is they'll tell you, okay, you've paid your taxes in the US, so you pay the balance. For instance, if you fall within the tax bracket of 30% in the US and your primary country of income is the US, right? You pay that 30%. Canada will say, okay, our tax bracket for your income level is 40%. Please give us the rest, please give us the rest 10%. But you see, it goes both ways. The diaspora remittance, if you look at the diaspora remittance, right, it has also helped the economy. We cannot say it's all bad. You understand? You look at slide 7, for instance. We've had a trade deficit of about 106 billion US dollars between 2014 and now. But at the same time, diaspora remittance between 2014 and 2021 is 167.9 billion. So if not for diaspora remittance, the dollars The US dollars will probably maybe be selling for 1,000 naira by now.
All right, so Mr. Fawemi, as we wrap this all up, what would be your suggestion first to the people and then to government in 30 seconds, if possible?
Interesting. 30 seconds. To the people, go where you will thrive. Don't differentiate between, understand your part of being nationalistic is to maximize your potential. So wherever you can maximize that potential, go there. Don't say staying in Nigeria or not staying in Nigeria is tied to being nationalistic or being patriotic. The best thing you may do for yourself is to go to where you can thrive. That is my own advice to people. As an educationist to parents, ensure your children stay in an environment that would maximize what they want to achieve. I've told parents this time and over, even on your program, if your child wants to study some professional courses like law, for example, or medicine, it pays for you and it's cheaper for you to keep that child in Nigeria to school because we have a good system that will make that guy a great lawyer, a great doctor, a great accountant. If your child wants to go to the tech world, wants to go to media, it's important for you to think again where you're sending that child to, that the child can become a world beater. That's the reality that we are in today in the global economy. To the system and to the government, I gave the example of a province going to hunt for nurses in Cuba. I think state governments need to start to think about what to do about this. Your previous set of speakers talked about technical colleges. What would be wrong, for example, for Ekiti State or Kebbi State or Edo State to approach a province in Canada or in the US and say, you know what, we're going to produce for you nurses that can come there and work for 17 or 15 months or 3 months and things like that.
Yeah, well,
we need to start to create those collaboration. The UK, for example, has what they call
Mr. Fawemi, you have spent 120 seconds, and so I need to deduct that from your account. Well, you have 30 seconds, Mr. Segale.
Okay.
Your passing shot.
Thank you. First of all, we need to change our economic model from an asset depletion economy to an economic model that is investment, right, that builds wealth. When you're able to build wealth wherever you are, you stay. Now, second, the government needs to invest in critical infrastructures and human capital. Now, one of the things that is actually making people leave is the lack of investment in human capital. You want your kids' future. So if government is able to do that, reverse the trend of the economy, people will stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Roman Osegale, Head Consultant, CEO, IntelServe Incorporated, Business Consultant, Business Intelligence Analyst, as well as Mr. Yomi Fawemi, who joined us virtually. Mr. Fawemi is a human resource and education professional. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. I hope that the people listened to you both, and I hope that the government also listened to you both. Right, so Sunrise will be back in just a moment, and we'll talk that thing about your food being your medicine.
And vice versa.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, let's talk lifestyle. I mean, it's interesting that everyone who has come to talk lifestyle here at Lero have based everything on food. Well, including your mental health.
We are there now. We finally got there. So, because everything depends on what you put in your body, doesn't it?
I mean, even your mental health.
Exactly.
Anyway, so we understand that the food we eat gives our bodies the information and materials they need to function properly. If we don't get the right information, our metabolic processes suffer and our health declines. I still find that fantastic. But there is so much to talk about, around that one. We understand if we get too much food or food that gives our bodies the wrong instructions, we can become overweight, undernourished, and at risk of the development of diseases and conditions. Arthritis, diabetes, heart disease. In short, we are told that what we eat is central to our health. Let's have a conversation around this morning with a certified health coach, a lifestyle management association of America. No, he is going to have to tell us more about that. Samuel Ayeni. Thanks for joining.
Association of Drugless Practitioners.
Association of Drugless Practitioners.
Well, drugless, not as in drugs, hard drugs, as in medication.
Yes.
Okay.
Christ. Okay, we hear this all the time.
Yes.
What you eat is, you are what you eat and all of that. Perhaps, because generally, when people think about food, the primary objective is to satisfy the hunger craving.
Yeah.
Period. Nothing else. In fact, most people just eat to fill the tummy, not for nutrition. What is wrong with that?
There's a lot. First thing, let me ask you a question. I've always asked this kind of question, that where is the best hospital in the world? Most people will name different, they will give you different names, right?
And countries, specific countries.
And countries, yes. But, to us, the best hospital in the world is your kitchen.
Well, that's a clinic, right?
So that's where we
You just manufacture drugs.
And
Your kitchen.
yes, your kitchen. And that is where most people print their obituary from.
Oh.
And sit down.
Can you be nice today, please?
And sit down on their dining table to use their fork and knife to dig their grave.
Wow.
You're not really here to be nice, are you? Can you be nice?
I know it might be shocking to you. Like, we are the captain of our life. And it depends on where you want to steer your life to. Is it into a healthy living life? Everybody is going to die one day or the other. But nobody wants to die in pain. So, and we really have to take care of our health right now. Some people are saving money for their health in future. All the money they've saved today, that's what some of them might use for their health tomorrow.
What are some of the things that you have seen in your practice as a lifestyle management coach? What are some of the things that you have found? Errors that you found people make, adjustments that people must make, otherwise they're headed towards that fork and knife grave path you talked about.
One, cooking. Most people, for example, let me give you a good example now. Ewedu is very good, rich in folic acid. But, we want to cook the ewedu. And you cook in the morning. Maybe like a family man, so your wife cook in the morning. In the afternoon, maybe you get back to work, I'm home in the evening. In the afternoon, the children are back from school, she has to warm. Evening, you get back, she has to also warm also too. And I don't want to talk about microwave this
time. If we don't warm meat, it will get spoiled, wouldn't it?
All the nutrient that is there, you finish the nutrient. So that's why I said cooking number one. The best way to cook your ewedu is, you can warm the water, you can boil the water and then pour your ewedu inside. Just switch off and use either use your blender to blend everything and eat like that. You get all you need, because it's better to eat whole, raw and organic. In the olden days,
slow down. So you're saying we don't cook the ewedu?
There is no point, because one, you've cooked your stew. What do you get? You've cooked your stew, you cook your meat. You are not getting anything. Animal eats whole, raw and organic, but we eat 90%. If you are dealing with an ailment, they will tell you, look, your food, maybe 60% has to be raw or 70%. Ooh. Raw means that I'm not saying you are going to eat raw meat. Sometimes you have to take meat out of your food completely.
We'll come to that one, but finish this matter of the ewedu. So what are you suggesting?
So, because since you've cooked your, what's it called?
The stew, the meat and everything.
Yeah. The batu or a la or something, you still have to, you still have to cook somehow.
Yeah.
So, you are not eating anything that is benefiting to your body. So the best way is for you to leave the ewedu raw like that. You know, some people take ewedu raw in the morning. Just
but we understand that
it.
the eba, for instance, is fiber. It's rich in fiber.
Not eba, you know, we're talking about gari now. So that I say, you know, it depends on whatever you are eating. I mean, whatever you are treating sometimes. And like, you look at your future. For example, if you are treating somebody who is diabetic now, so I mean, like, the person can eat heavy food in the afternoon, like maybe 12, since you know, well, I'm going to work, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, so you can eat that in the afternoon. No, when we are talking about this food, let me use children also as an example now. You have a child and, what's it called? The teacher calls you and says, look, come, every morning your child is always sleeping, not concentrating in the morning. You have to check first. That's what the head coach does. You have to check the roots. So you have to check, what do I feed my child in the morning? As an adult, if you eat eba in the morning and you are going to VI, there's no way you will not sleep. So what do you feed your child with in the morning before getting to school? Because that period is when they should be active. So in the afternoon, they will run around and go and play. They can eat heavy food in the afternoon. They can eat rice in the afternoon. They won't sleep.
Now, but let's back to this ewedu matter. Yes. Because, I mean, ewedu is, something that a lot of us eat. Yes. A lot of Nigerians eat ewedu. So what you're saying is that it's best for us to eat it almost raw.
Raw, yes.
But how do you get, ewedu is...
draw.
It's drawy.
Yes.
So how do you get that drawiness out of it
if you don't? You can still get it.
How?
The same way, you cook. It's not the cooking that make it draw. What I'm saying is this: you boil your water. So just pour the ewedu inside immediately.
And you stir.
Yes.
And you will get that drawiness
out of it. Yes, you still get it drawing.
Okay.
So you've not really destroyed the nutrient that is inside.
Okay. The same thing is said about okra.
Yes, the same thing with okra.
You cook it for about 3 minutes only.
Yes. You can do that. And some don't cook okra too, because maybe, it depends, like if you are treating some ailment, so you might not need to cook. They will tell you don't cook the okra.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Eat raw.
Yes, eat raw. You just mix it in water and drink. I mean, like you are cooking it.
That's sounding like medicine, right? Okay.
Well, now, it's supposed to be medicinal in this case.
You can do the same thing. That's what I say. It depends on whatever you are treating. You can do the same thing with what's it called now? Sweet potato.
Okay. Really?
Yes. You juice it and you drink.
You juice sweet potato.
Sir, we're not treating any ailment now.
Yes.
We're just trying to eat healthy.
Yes.
So let's talk eating healthy, not treating any...
Now, you've spoken about ewedu and okra, and those are largely southwest, southern Nigeria
Why
staples.
I use ewedu? Because in the Western world, they take, what's it called, salad. They don't cook salad when they are eating. So it's almost the same thing like our vegetable.
So what are they going to have in the north?
Okay.
In the north, they have so many things in the north. Everywhere you go, you have different things that can make you healthy, that can eat, that will make you healthy. So why do you give your goats, your ram, green herbs, green leaves?
Because they are herbivorous animals.
And human beings are not.
We're carnivorous animals. It's as simple as that. And by the way,
I know a guy. I met a guy. He said, "So, what do you feed your dog with?" He has a dog. What do you feed your dog with? He said, "Raw meat, not raw like that, but raw meat." And like he has never taken the dog to a vet doctor to see a vet doctor. So it's not like, okay, I have to cook this. Because by the time you start cooking every day, if healthy living, you have to make your meal 70% or 60% raw.
This thing that you are preaching, I'm pretty sure that our mothers and grandmothers will be looking at you and saying, what's this man talking about? And
not the one in Lagos. I'm talking about the one in the village. The one in the village, you can see them in the morning, when they are going out in the morning. Like I said, I said to you, in your house now, you have nets all over. But go to the village, they have nets all over their places. You have to spray the house. Your car, sometimes, okay, I have to spray my car. You are inside AC. You don't do anything. You don't exercise. When the husband is going, I'm going to the farm. The husband has to walk down to the farm. The wife, okay, I'm going to the stream to go and do one thing or the other. So that is what we are trying to do today. Okay, well, I have to ride on my bicycle now, do exercise. But they've done that. They carry wood, they carry this, they do.
Okay, you said that in talking about the common issues that people have, you've spoken about the kitchen.
Yes.
What next?
Exercise.
People don't exercise.
People don't exercise.
We
Just now that people are trying to do
largely
that.
sedentary.
Yes.
Okay, next, is there any other thing?
Most people don't sleep on time.
Well, blame the traffic for that one.
Yeah.
We have horrible traffic, especially in urban Nigeria. I don't know about Abuja, but I can tell for Port Harcourt, for Lagos, certain, a sizable part of Ibadan and the rest of it.
So, but how do you relax after all this? How do you relax?
We don't.
So, most people still go on their way. Oh, because of traffic, let me go to one beer parlor and take a bottle of beer, maybe 3, 2, pepper soup.
I knew you didn't plan to be nice today, but try to be nice. We have just about 10 minutes to go. Now, what are the lifestyle choices you would recommend to people listening and watching you right now? Common lifestyle,
yes,
easy, not too expensive lifestyle choices.
Every morning, when you wake up, try and breathe in and out for like 5 minutes. Do a light exercise.
When you say breathing in and out, we do that all the time. Otherwise,
not that way. Dead. Not that way. Normally, like if I say, okay, excuse me, you go to toilet every day.
Yeah.
Right. So why do you have to drink more water to detoxify your system? Because when you wake up, you are going straight to the bathroom. So, but you need something to help you to detoxify your system.
Okay. So
most of us, we don't do that. So you have to breathe in first.
Breathe in, deep breathing.
Deep breathing and out.
Can you give us an example? And hold it?
Oh, you can hold it.
For how many seconds?
Just for 1 second.
What? I'm just asking a question.
Okay. Remember during COVID, you say, okay, well, try and check yourself.
If you can hold it for what, 30 seconds?
Yes.
Okay. So breathing in and out is one.
Light exercise.
And you said we do the breathing in and out for about 5 minutes every morning.
Yes.
Before you get busy.
Yes. Okay. So take water in the morning. Water is very, very important. At least 1 bottle in the morning.
Size?
Well,
75 cl.
1 bottle is a bit much, but water, yes.
No, if I say carbonated drink now, you can take more than 1 bottle.
No, I can't. Not early in the morning. No.
So some people they find it difficult to take water in the morning, but
yes.
Just add a little lime to it and you drink. Or you make smoothie, maybe, what's it called?
Lime or lemon?
Anyone. And also you can do, what's it called? Cucumber and maybe pineapple. Make a juice out of it and you drink.
But there are those who wonder, for instance, that lemon and or lime are rather acidic.
Yes, that's what I said.
Some people
just want something tasty. So you can add that to it.
Just a tiny bit.
So, and you drink. Okay. So it will help you to detoxify your system. And make sure you do exercise. Maybe you jump up, walk on the staircase, down, up, and just exercise your body. Not like, okay, well, you wake up in the AC, straight to my car AC, driver, let's go, and you're out like that, nothing.
Well, another time we'll get someone to give us, samples of those exercises, because there are many people who know that they shouldn't be living sedentary lives. I saw a video once of a man who sat down on a chair, and the chair straddled the treadmill.
Yes.
So he was moving his legs and while drinking and eating and all of that. So those choices you've talked about. How about, now there are some other simple medications that people try to do for themselves. You talked about lemon the other time. There are those who think that lemongrass is quite medicinal.
Yes, lemongrass is very good. You can mix lemongrass with your, what's it called now? Pineapple. For example, if I'm going to juice pineapple.
Lemongrass with pineapple.
Yes. You can mix with the back of the pineapple.
Wait, the lemongrass itself, or you boil the lemongrass and you strain it?
Yes. So, but you can also juice your pineapple, because try and do fruits every day. And weekend, maybe like Friday, do something that can help you to detoxify your body. apart from the natural way.
What can people?
For example, I juice, what's it called? Pineapple now. If I'm going to juice pineapple, I juice the whole thing, the back, everything. And if I'm eating watermelon, I eat the whole watermelon with the green part. It's very...
oh dear.
No, because, it's just like you taking oranges now. So what gives you the vitamin C is the most, like anything that goes into the ground, you get, the back is where all the things that you need is, the nutrients, yes. You cook, what's it called? What's this thing? Potato now. They have to peel first before you cook. But you need to eat, if you need to get the benefits, you have to eat the whole thing, not the inside alone. Watermelon, not the red part of it alone. The white part and the green part.
I have to eat that stuff.
Yes. So it gives you all the benefits.
What about yam?
Yam, in the olden days, the way they cook yam, they don't slice the back. They cook everything. They roast everything, the back too. And they just peel the back small and then eat. But these days, we have to peel. You peel to the inside before you cook. So you are not really getting anything from it.
Well, we need to make real lifestyle changes, haven't we?
Oh, yeah, but we need to...
Eat yam with the skin, potato with the skin,
and then the next
eat pineapple with the bark.
The next thing you're going to hear is, how am I different from a goat? So now, in terms of... Now, there are some other things that some shortcuts that people take to deal with some lifestyle health issues, like diabetes, high blood pressure, stuff like that, overweight and obesity and stuff like that. So one of the ways they go about it is that they just go for supplements, whether or not it is recommended by anyone. They say those are not medicines. It's only medicines or medications that you have to go get from a doctor. But this one, they're just supplements. They say it's good for me. I go ahead and take it.
The first thing when it comes to you is, do you do checkup? Because, if you have a car, every morning you wake up, you go and open the bonnet first. Check, is there oil? Have I changed my oil? When last did I change my oil? So you ask yourself, when last have you changed your own oil? You cannot say, okay, now your car is showing on your dashboard, there's a red sign. Maybe radiator is showing the red sign. So, oh, this red sign has come up again. You just call, come and help me cut this red sign off. Fine, it will cut, the person will cut it off, the light. Maybe the wire, he cut it off. Leave the car. So within a short period, the car will just maybe the engine might knock because you are not paying attention to what you are seeing.
It just simply means that you didn't pay, you don't value the car.
Yes. So how do you value yourself? How do you value your body? It's not about, it's not about facial. What goes inside of you? You might look beautiful, but how do you take care of your inside? Most people take care of their outside without considering their inside. How do you take care of your inside? So whatever happens to us, sometimes we are the cause of the issue. First, you have to see your doctor. Doctor can say, okay, this, and that. Because I can't say because I have one ailment or the other, and I'll go to a place, okay, give me medicine. That means that I don't value my liver. So if you value your body, you first of all see your doctor first. Then you can now say, okay, well, this is what I want to eat, and this is how I want to live my life. That's when the healthy lifestyle will come in. You can't scatter the whole thing at the beginning. So that's what is going on with some people now. So after they scatter their life, they will now be looking for a magic bullet to get it right, to repair, to get it right.
Okay.
So if you have done that, then your exercise and know the kind of food that you eat and where you buy your meal or food also too, because people out there, they don't care about your life. They only care about the shelf life of what they are selling.
Okay. How about those who have allergies? How do they manage these things? Don't also forget, on the one hand, we hear how expensive it is to eat farm to table. Mm-hmm. To do, all this fresh,
organic
stuff. It's organic, food. It's very, very expensive. Looking at the economic buying power of many people today, one can't really smile on that. Add to that the complexity of having allergies.
Allergies, it depends on on the individual. Some people will come to you, maybe when they take milk, something will happen to them. I know some people that have come around and say, look, some people, when you get to their house, they don't have upholstery chairs. They only have leather chairs. Because sometimes you might not know the cause. You have to find out what is the problem. Some people don't keep pets. They are allergic to pets. Some people don't eat seafood. They're also allergic to seafood. I know someone that if you come to my house now and like my wife used spoon for meat to give you fish, I will take that person to the hospital that minute.
Really?
Without knowing, So sometimes you need to ask people. Some, they don't like shrimps because, for us, we talk about shrimp. Okay, shrimps, they are like, what's it called now? They are like cockroaches. They eat the dirt in the water. They are the one that clean up the water.
Why do you have
Please,
to Why do you have to go
God.
that way? Come on, you spoiled some people's appetite.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Those of us from the riverine areas who eat a lot of shrimps.
Anyway, so essentially you're saying everyone should try to diagnose himself to know what causes their allergic reactions.
Yes.
Now, we've also heard this term of, please recover from it very quickly, functional medicine. Where we are told that the functional medicine practitioners examine the role of nutrition in chronic diseases, multiple systems and all of that. Now, I'm wondering what you would counsel anyone who is looking for a desperate solution to a situation or condition in which they have.
There's so many ways.
And they have been told that it is food. Food is the medicine.
Yeah, food and food. Number one, exercise is also, you have to exercise your body because, as we grow some cells, or as we do something, some cell dies in our body and you can't get them back. So food, like you said, what food, like, some people go to parties now. When you have a children's party, adults will go. When they get there, give me rice, give me asaro. They can eat 7-course meal in 1 hour. But you see the children jumping from one trampoline to the other, running up and down. And when your daddy gets home now, he says, honey, I'm tired, but can you just give me that meat of turkey that I want to eat around 10 o'clock? And they will cross their leg, want to watch TV or listen to news. At the end of the day, they will just doze off from there. So they did not exercise their body. And that thing keep piling up. And like the way our body works is that the toxins, they find a way for, most men will have tummy belly. The toxins find their way to your tummy. For women, to their arm. So that's why you see that they have.
She just looked at her.
Just checking.
So if you are trying to heal yourself from some situation, sometimes, okay, you eat very early. And you don't eat late also too. What kind of, because if you, at our age, we're not going to die tomorrow. So eat something light. When you are 40, okay, I'm 40 or over 40. This is what I need to do. I need to go and check my post-trade because out of 20 people or 10 people, when they check them, maybe 8.
Wow. So,
but like, I need to check myself so that when this thing comes, I know how to deal with it. They will also say that early, when you have cancer, you have to, they have to go out, before you, check yourselves that if there's anything like cancerous thing in your body, the way the body is, something triggers something. And if you are not careful, running up and down, getting this, getting that, might cause more harm to the system also too.
You mentioned the guy who comes from the party and asks for...
a nightcap.
Well, yes, a nightcap, and then he dozes off. He hasn't... Suppose he has exercised earlier in the day. Doesn't that add up?
If you have exercised early in the day,
yes,
and it's not because you exercise early in the day that you have to eat plenty of food
at night.
At night, so
but why
everything is in moderation.
I'm sorry. We are told. Perhaps it's because many people don't know what happens in their body. Just a second. We are told that your metabolism kind of sleeps or starts sleeping at certain times. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that is why people shouldn't.
in the night. So that's why you see some people when they wake up, instead of them to go to bed on time, eat early, they will go to bed late and eat late also too. So, and like, you know, our body has a period where I'm trying to repair your body for you. But you are not saying, no, stop. This is what I want from you. So when they wake up, they now be stretching because the body works like overnight.
You know,
instead of resting.
Yes, instead of resting.
Revitalizing.
Yes.
I'm sure that this is an ongoing conversation. As I said, virtually everyone who has come here has, you know, explained to us that, look, food, that's what matters in all, you know, that we have to relate with. But, you know, this is an ongoing conversation. We definitely will have you back some other time to help us understand how to heal ourselves with what we eat. And we have to thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning. Sam Ayeni is a certified health coach, lifestyle management, and a member of the Association of Drugless Practitioners. Okay. Thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When we return from this break, it is time for the home stretch. We'll be back. Before they carry us away, we're back.
No marks for guessing who our guest is this week. He is well, you know, we were talking about Japa earlier. Well, he's one of those who Japa'd. But, well, he's back with us now. Maybe he's going back, I don't know.
Oh, my God.
But, we'll have a chance to ask him that. Adekunle Fuji. Remember him from way back? Yes. That's Adekunle Fuji.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much.
For about a decade now.
Over 11 years.
Haven't heard anything from him. We don't know what's up with him. So, Adekunle, good morning and welcome to Sunrise.
Thank you so much, man. Good morning.
Where have you been and what have you been doing?
You definitely didn't
straight
go.
up.
You didn't go to London to see the Queen.
Actually, I passed by I saw the Queen, but I decided to not to stay with the Queen. Oh. So I've been minding my business. You know, at times it comes to times in life where
minding my business.
You know, David was alone in the farm, in the bush, trying to understand God. God was training him. So I was going through a training with God, and
for 10 straight years.
Over 10 years, over 11 years.
Wow.
I left here September 2011, so I call it 9/11 exit.
9/11. Okay, so you have been minding your business.
Yes, ma'am.
Dare we ask what that business was that you were minding?
Actually, you know, I found myself in a place where God was teaching me how to look after people. I work with people with, I'm an autistic technician. I work with autistic kids, and I work with people with drug addicts, people that have alcohol addictions, you know, and this has taught me a lot. And this
why this particular areas?
You know, at times, like my song said, "Carry me, they go where my destiny will shine." You have planned for yourself, and God has His own plan. So that was a job I found, and they told me there was a vacuum. They needed people to go into that direction. And I kind of realized that I'm gifted in that area. I met a guy that whenever he smokes weed, and they think it's a normal thing to do that. And I tell people it's not for everybody. Your capacity, your brain might not carry. So anytime he's under the influence, he will beat his dad randomly. So they spoke to me about him, and I bring him here. And I adopted him as my son. He started living with me. And I found out that this is a guy with so much potential. He's a software developer. In 6 months, I put him through a rehabilitation. And right now he has a job, fantastic job. He stopped doing that, and he's normal. So, you know, in some civilized country, they said it's a normal thing. Don't say that. Not everybody can carry it. because somebody is good for somebody doesn't mean it's good for this other person. So I realized that this is something that I really, I end up loving it. So living away has taught me so much. Then I trained myself to become a software analyst. At the same time, I work as a radio frequency engineer. So
hang on. Dekunle Fuji, we knew you as an artist. You were a singer. So what happened? You left all that to go and do all these other things that you're doing?
Honestly, they don't like Yoruba people will say Kosari Akbalani Loyinbo. Listen, they do it, but if you find yourself in a new environment, you need to pay your bills first. This is a place where you pay your bills monthly or you'll be homeless.
Why did you leave Nigeria in the first place?
I never planned to actually leave to go far away like that. I've been going in and out. And most people don't even know I got a work permit about 2010 or 2009. And I just said I will go, I'll be back. And something happened that it was like I was shut down physically, mentally, and I didn't even know where I found myself. So I tried to come out, but I couldn't come out. It was like I was trapped for a while, for years. And after a while, yes, you know, and that's why I tell people, when you are going through a phase, face that phase, but don't ever isolate yourself. Because that's the way enemy will deal with you well, when you isolate yourself. So let's share with people. And we are scared of, like, if I share with people what I'm going through, how will they receive me? People will move away. People that are not meant for you will move back. But the people that God has assigned to be with you, to walk you through that journey, will stand by you, stand with you till you go through it. So it was like a more, people would say, mentally challenge of spiritual challenge. If we don't take it, if we don't see, they sound alike. A lot of people are walking on the street, but mentally they are not balanced, but they dress well. But when you spend time, you can figure it out. So I tell people, I went through that period where I kind of lost it for a while, and I decided not to even answer my name again, Dekunle Fuji. So then my name was Michael Crown Smith on social media. So that was like a time, I sang more like Jesus Go. Yes. I didn't even understand Jesus I was talking about. So I tell people, know God yourself.
I still remember that song, Dekunle.
Yeah, know God yourself. A lot of us are serving the God that they forced on us. So know God yourself. When you know the God that you know, he said, those that know their God be strong and do exploit. So I redefined myself because I went through training with God. So I found myself living abroad, and it got to a point I have to surrender that this is where I found myself. How can I make best of it? So that's why I started learning all those trades, so to see how I can pay my bill and survive.
Is that to say that the success of that hit song you did, More Like Jesugon, played a role, or it was, I don't know?
Actually, Jesus showed himself that when I declared that I like him, he now showed me that he really cares about me and he loved me more than I love him. So I kind of experienced the love of God while I was away. So I tell people, don't ever bank on anybody, don't depend on anybody, your dad, your mom, your sister, your brother, they cannot help you. But when you depend on God, put all your trust in God. He's the only one that can never fail.
Is that to say that this is one of the lessons you learned? Because I understand that, just as you said, you were literally alone through that dark moment.
I was alone. I walked alone, stand alone, but I was never alone. Jesus was there for me.
Okay, now, because I know that your industry, the entertainment industry, is a collegiate of sorts. It's an environment where everyone knows everyone, and everyone is supposed to kind of care for everyone. So, and you're not the only one who has had to go through this. Yes. I remember before his demise, OJB Jezreel, I understand, also had such a phase like that. And one or two other artists here and there.
You see, an artist needs to understand, be yourself, be real. forget about all the fantasy and
razzmatazz
that comes with what you do. Be yourself. If you're going through something, have somebody you can talk to, have somebody you can open up to and say, this is what I'm going through.
So essentially you're saying that the industry is vulnerable to depression.
We all make-believe what we live in. We fake a lot of things. People, you see them behind the screen, they look more than who they are outside. So when they step out of it, they want to be like that. And they don't have all it takes to be like that. A lot of people are depressed, you don't even know.
So the musician is largely a loner.
A lot of even actors, actresses, even, presenters. I watch you guys back home in the United States. And I really appreciate everything that everybody has done for me, because I saw until like, oh my God, she's still looking, these are people that you never appreciated. You never give them flower when they can smell it. So coming back, and I saw the way she reacted, and I said, I need to let you guys know that I'm sorry I never appreciate even all of you as, presenters. We work together. Now I appreciate you guys better. So being aware has taught me to appreciate people, and it might be small, but let people know how good they mean to you.
Okay.
So definitely.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you now put away singing forever?
Actually, I'm back into it, and I'm back in full. I have like 3 beautiful videos, and thank God for people that they located me. A guy walked up to me, Diesel Films, and they were like, bros, you need to come back. What do you need to come back? I was like, you don't even know what it is. I'm trying to pay my bills. You're telling me to come back to music. I was surprised, and talk is cheap. Anybody can talk. And he put something on the table to work with, and that was like what I needed to jumpstart my career. And now I'm back home, just ready to work with all my colleagues that have left for
Ready to go. Are you back finally?
There is nothing like forever or finally. But
okay. Never say never.
Even Jesus said, one time you see me. So
that's escapist.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm back home, and it's good to be back home.
What's going to be different going forward? What are people to expect from Dekunle Fuji going forward?
Honestly, I know I've stepped on a lot of toes, which I like to appreciate. If I've stepped on your toes in the past, see, it was just useful, exuberant, or I didn't know what I was doing then. I'm sorry. Then I'd like to clear that part there. Now I want to show love to even my friends and my enemies, people that I've never appreciated. I want to appreciate them more.
Talk to us about this song.
This is, I call it dance. From beginning...
Dance.
Yes, Ijo. It's good to celebrate yourself. Don't forget about whatever it is you are going through, but you need to be appreciative. And dance is one of the ways you can show God that you are happy to be alive. And I said it, because of Jesus, I'm dancing. I wrote these songs almost 15 years ago.
Really?
But I never got a chance to actually put it.
Okay, so let's enjoy it for a bit.
Okay.
Interesting. Anyway, so how old is this one?
I just released this song about 3 months ago.
Oh, really?
This is brand new.
Okay. Now, so this is one. First of all, there's been quite a gap of time between the time Moonlight Jesu Gone raised as a Fuji crossover song at the time, because it fused
Afro hip hop.
No. I'm coming to the basics.
Okay.
It fused Fuji, rock, and pop.
Oh yes.
But Fuji coming mainstream at the time was different.
Yes.
Fuji was supposed to be a local, as in really local music.
Yep.
Coming upstream like that, it was very, very dynamic. And you weren't the only one that did it. Jazz Man Olofin did something similar also. It speaks to me of the potential of our local music.
Yes. We don't, see, in Nigeria, we don't appreciate what we got. We don't. Local Onjawo means your local product will always give you resources.
We do appreciate now.
We do now.
we do now.
When Whiskey started, if you listen to Whiskey, it was pure Fuji. But you know what? We never appreciated those Fuji artists. because of the lady foundation. Then we are tapping from what they've done, and we are it's like a crude oil, and everybody is taking Vaseline, everything. Yeah, we're taking whatever we want from it. So let's give it back to those Fuji artists and say, well, good job, you know. For me, I like to be original. I just never wanted to be like anybody. And thank God I'm talking to you. The first time I went on radio interview, he actually interviewed me. And he said to me, he said, I know you will go far. I know you will go places. You just reminded me of my pastor, Pastor Taiwo Dikoya. He was always like, oh, Dikoya, I see you going places. Even when I don't even know where I was going. I just look at him one time and I said, this pastor, they will want to. Well, now I appreciate him because he said it, and now I'm there. Okay. Especially when I go to other countries I've never been. You know?
Is it true that you were actually in the police force?
I joined the police force voluntarily to help to ease traffic in Lagos back then, about 14, 15 years ago. Oh. Because anytime I see traffic in Lagos and I'm seeing people just behaving like, you know, I don't want to call names, but I feel like I can do something about it. So I approached them and they told me, yeah, we have courses for people that want to volunteer. And I did it.
And they gave you a uniform?
They gave me, they have vests that you wear that to show that you are one of them. Okay. But that can backfire at the same time.
In what way?
I was controlling traffic one day and I don't know where this police actually appeared from. Who are you? See, I don't know they can carry a man like they carry bread. They just carry me like this. My leg was swinging on the, you know, and boom. And the guy said, take only Fuji. Yes, I'm the one, sir. Egbile, drop him. And I was dropped like, you know, and I'm like, this country, I want to help you, but you know. So it's so funny that, you know, but that's, everybody wants to help the country, but, you know.
Dekule, we're wrapping up, and I'd like you to speak to something that I consider very, very important. Everyone who has spent 20, 30 years in the industry that we have the privilege of interviewing, I like to ask them this question.
Yes.
Mentorship. The young ones are coming into music. Much of the music that many of you did back in time were conscious music, music to educate, to help the country, to give direction and all. But it would seem like these days, I just want to blow.
Everybody wants to blow, and in blowing, you might end up blowing yourself. Well, you are not.
Oh dear.
Yes. No, honestly, I see people wants to blow, and they're ready to do anything and everything, even though they know they might even lose their life
just to be famous.
Just to be famous and to be known. For us, we're just doing it because we love it. There was not even money like the way money involved now. We're not even making that kind of money. I was doing it, and I have almost 15-man band. They will, let's go, we're going. Because they loved what we were doing. So right now, I tell people,
but that's not to say that the economic realities are not there.
See, we went through it one way or the other. Like, let me just tell you this now. Both of you are professional to the core. We don't have professional like that in the industry again. For you to appear, they ask you, well, so, you know. So when they put pressure on you, you put pressure on something else. So it's not, we work together. You were mentoring me for a very long time. She will show me that motherly love, that sisterly love, auntie love that you can get from outside. For somebody that actually wants to tell you, I appreciate what you're doing. And that keeps me going. But nowadays, it wasn't like that. Go talk to other TV stations. They have to like, so what do you bring on the table? So before
shake body.
Yes. When they ask you to shake body, you might shake body in the wrong place. And you pay for it. So mentoring, please just have a focus. You are not running anybody's race. Stay in your lane and you will get there.
We also know that music is a product Nigeria is exporting now.
Yes.
What are we doing right? What are we doing? What do you think we need to improve on?
See, we got it already. We got it locked down. Honestly, we got it locked down. Look at all our boys doing very well. Burna Boy, Whiskey, Davido, Olamide. Now we have Ashake. See, let's just see how where we can manage it, because they are representing this country very well.
Yes.
Do you have a challenge with
Yes.
the lifestyle choices that some people say is a concern for them with some of the artists?
Like where I live, they say you don't talk about people's personal life. If you decide to live your life, you pay for it. See, a lot of people have chosen to go, if you face the upcoming traffic, like just normal, the day they will hit you down, then you will know. So your choice is your choice. You can't force a horse to, you can take a horse to the river, but you can't force the horse to drink water. If you choose to live a personal life in a way you have chosen to live it, keep on moving.
We have to force you out of the studio right now because we have to force you out of the studio.
But thank you so much. I like your new building. Beautiful.
Thank
international standard.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be back here. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Good to see you, Dekunle
Same here,
Fuji.
ma'am. Same here.
Welcome back.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we expect to hear more from you now that you are back.
By the grace of God.
Great.
Anything
great.
can happen.
Are we expecting a remix of New Lily?
I actually spoke to my producer about it, and I was surprised. Kubam said, bro, let's not live in the past glory. Move on. Let's do something new.
I don't know how many remixes of Thriller
Yeah.
Michael Jackson had before he died, but we have to go.
Right. So Dekunle Fuji, thank you. You close our program for today. We'll bring you a fresh edition next week. I'm Alero Edu, wishing you a very happy weekend and all the best till we see you again next week.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Again, we have to thank Banke Iromini. Keep doing what you're doing to make Nigeria a better place. So, Mr. Ogbeni.
Bye.
What's that? Which is?